Civil Defence Emergency Management Group Joint Committee meeting. If I can puatu te rākau kia koe, Baden, could you please open our hui? Kia ora, Leon. Kia ora.
Kāti kia ora tātou I tēnei rangi mokopuna, tēnei rangi a tāhua. Kua huitai mai nei tēnei komiti mō ngā take mōrearea. Nō reire mihi ana ki a koe te wahine hene wai. Autira ko ngā kahika, ngā meas katoa kei wanganui a tātou. Mihi ana ki a koutou. Ki a koe hoki Leon, kei tawhiti, mihi ana ki a koe. Autira ngā kaimahi huri noa tēnā tātou. Hoeno, māku te karakia. I pātou matou nui te rangi, tēnei hoki te komiti mō ngā take ohorere, ne mihi atu nei ki a koe tēnei rā, tēnei ata, o tēnei ahiahi, ki te tuku whakamuimuti ki a koe mō ngā mea katoa nau I homai ki a mātou, nō reire whakauhia mai tō wairua tapu, hei ara take a mātou nei mahi, kia tutuki pai a mātou, te rārangi take kei mui a tātou tēnei rā, ngā kaupapa kōrero, hei kōrero tanga mā tātou nō reira. Tēnei mātou, te matau a Māui, mai paritū ki takapau e mihi atu nei ki a koe, I ngā wā katoa, I ngā wāhi katoa, nō reira, whakatūwheratia nei tēnei huhunga, I rungi te ngā tapu o Hugh Christ tō mata kai whakaora. Āmene.
Āmene.
Kia ora, tēnā tātou.
Tēnā koe, Chair Baden Barber. A warm welcome to you all. Welcome to our mayors of the region. And we have here joining us Tanya Kerr, on behalf of Hastings District Council, when Mayor Sandra has to leave. Thank you. We'll have an early departure of Baden
3 o'clock.
At 3 o'clock. Kia ora. And a warm welcome to John Hamilton, again, one of our specialist advisors. And also a warm welcome to Katrina Brunton, who is our GM for Regulation and Policy, but is also on the team with Shane. So just a warm welcome to you, Katrina.
Mr. Chair, we'd like to get away at about 2:30 actually. So
2:30? Oh, well, there we go. That's the whittle that's put out there, 2:30.
We can get to the agenda.
She's a good chair.
And a big warm welcome to Leon joining us online. Kia ora from Tātou o Te Wairua. Okay, team, so we've got all the apologies out of the way for those that need to leave early. Are there any conflict of interest to declare in today's items? There are none. Kia ora. Confirmation of the minutes from our last meeting held on the 24th of March. If we have no corrections to make, can I have a mover, please? Mayor Alex and Mayor Sandra, all those who agree say aye. Aye. Those against, carried. Right, team, we move into our decision items, which is the first is the Hawke's Bay Seating service level agreements. If I can please hand to you, Katrina.
Thank you, Chair. Through you, Chair, I will pass this immediately over to our Director, Shane Briggs. The service level agreement is between a joint service level agreement between the TLAs and the Regional Council, and last week went to the Chief Exec's group, has had quite a lot of feedback and iterations since its first draft and is now here for your approval today.
Kia ora, through the Chair. This represents kind of a major milestone because this will be one of the 7 key focus areas completed once it is signed from the transformation strategy. And this item also then allows the transition to a more locally led emergency management. So that's actually a pretty important step moving forwards from the original direction that was given by the Joint Committee. As Katrina pointed out, that this agreement is largely between the local authorities, noting that the emergency services roles and responsibilities and other partners and agencies are contained in the National Plan Order. So this is specifically around the roles that the councils play as we go into that more locally led model and change the operating model we've had in this region. There's been some workshops between councils, 2 CEs workshops. There was a near final version that councils had an opportunity to take through council meetings and then last week endorsed by KEG. So now it's really up to the Joint Committee to adopt it. It's basically sits with you to make that decision of whether you agree with what is presented to you. It's needed to be reviewed early next year, so in the 26-27 financial year, and then again 27-28, which is also to line up with the long-term plan, which also might then change the way some of the things are then funded to be delivered. It is intended to be a living document, so in there are things around some principles and how we'll work together. It is meant to be how we kind of move forwards. And so whilst it may be not 100% perfect in all areas, it's an opportunity for us to start moving to that direction that you've all set for us. Also, just pointing out on point 31, so that's on page 7, just a reminder that the Joint Committee previously has agreed that in order to transition to the new locally led system, it requires 3 things. One is a service level agreement to be completed, one, the staffing of the local authorities, and thirdly, for the group controller to confirm that the system is ready to transition. So this is one of those first 3 steps. If you agree to approve this, that will then mean we can move forward with the rest. The rest of the information is pretty much in there, so I think rather than me running through it, I'm really just happy to take some questions and walk through anything that you might have.
Thank you, Shane. I think it's worthwhile to talk to the option that is recommended for us and how that's different to the other options explored.
Certainly. Through the chair, so the first one, which is the recommended one, which is for the committee to accept the SLA as it is, but noting that there are some things that are still uncertain around long-term funding arrangements, which will be reviewed as that long-term planning process in 27-28. We also need to do some more work around the implementation of some of the stuff. There's also the review of the National Civil Defence Bill, which also will bring some uncertainty whenever that progresses and what that looks like. So the option 1 just says, look, Will recommends that we agree to that now, that at the SLA as it's presented, noting that there are some of these issues, but we're committing to actually moving forwards with the SLA and is in the direction that you've already provided. Versus the other options, which is one is to adopt it in principle, but recommending a whole lot of changes be made before we finalise it. And option 3 would be for you to say basically you don't adopt it at all and you're not even going to make a recommendation until all those changes are put in place, all the information is brought back to you so you have all of that information. Those things would be potentially around, again, some of the funding, some of the implementation frameworks, but the risk is that's just going to delay the implementation, and it also runs the risk that some councils may choose to move forwards into a locally led model before the region's fully committed to doing so. And I'll leave that as there. And then the last one is basically to stay with the status quo. The concern with the status quo is that it doesn't align with the transformation strategy. It's already what we've got. The recommendations clearly indicated that we need to do it differently. And so that one wouldn't actually meet the intent of what you've already set out for us.
Okay, we'll open up for questions. Thanks, Shane. Councillor Kerr.
Kia ora, Chair Haniway. Kia ora, Shane. Since this was before the committee, it's been and had chief executive workshops and council workshops. Can you talk to me about the changes that have taken place? Because I don't have a marked change sheet. So were they substantive in nature or were they minor wording changes?
Through the chair, I could talk to some of them from memory, because as you appreciate, there's been quite a few changes as we've gone through, but the most recent changes were things around taking out some of the assurance measures. So had it, for instance, set numbers of people you needed in a coordination centre. That had been removed for now, noting that we will then work through that potentially in the future with an assurance function, set minimum standards, consult with all the organisations involved, and then potentially bring it back to either CARE or Joint Committee for endorsement. So that was one of the larger changes. Some other changes were just around, it had some information there that was more operational around some of the financial arrangements, which have been addressed separately.
Yeah, that's largely it. Through Chair. I think what the main changes that have been made to the SLA as a result of those workshops is identifying that this is an interim SLA. It is our first step, and it is about achieving some runs, getting some runs on the board to reflect the transformation strategy, while noting that we still have a long way to go, and our development of our LTPs are going to influence that heavily as we talk about funding mechanisms and FTE required. If we set those up right at the front, we don't have all the answers to achieve that at this point in time. And so it was about making those changes. That is why it's a short-term SLA with a view to review next year.
Additional?
Yeah, so just confirmation that those minimum standards and the assurance back to this governance committee will be in that next phase. That's in train already. We don't need to add it to anything.
Through you, Chair, yes.
Thank you.
I've got Mayor Craig and then Baden. Kia ora.
Yeah, so just probably what Tanya's talking about, it would be nice to have the document, because this isn't the only meeting we ever attend in our lives, there's quite a few others, have that document with the changes, so when we're doing something like this, we can actually see it. We trust you, but it's nice to see it as well.
Baden, Chair Baden.
Yeah, kia ora. Kia ora, Shane. I just, in terms of the consultation with the councils, I'm assuming that this went in front of the Māori Joint Committees?
Through you, Chair, no.
No.
As I said at the beginning, this is a service level agreement between the councils. It has been to the KEG and with workshops with staff only.
Further questions? Sorry.
Thank you, through the chair. I'm keen to understand why the recommendation before us is to adopt the SLA, considering there are still a number of unknowns. So why we would be being recommended to adopt it as opposed to option 2, to adopt subject to conditions.
Through the chair, look, obviously you're welcome to do either. The reason for adopting it as is to really provide that clarity. We may not have some of those answers until we get to the next financial round, until the long-term plan. And so the recommendation, if you wait for that to come back to you, we might not have that for a while, which is going to delay the implementation of this piece of work. The SLA actually then drives the operating model change, it drives some of the resourcing, it drives the shift to locally led. And so until such time as we have an SLA that is confirmed, we're still in a position where we're operating under the existing arrangements, which have already been indicated as not fit for purpose.
I've got a question through the chair. So essentially what that sounds like to me is this SLA essentially the transition plan?
No, it starts to initiate the roles and responsibility. It puts in place clear understanding of roles and responsibilities for the transition plan to be implemented.
And so the transition plan will come back to this committee?
Through the chair, yeah, look, I think talking at KEG the other day, there's definitely more work to be done around how we implement some of this stuff and a lot more conversations. The first part of this is actually to agree what the roles and responsibilities are. And once we've done that, we can do a lot more work then as to actually how some of these will work, and not just within councils, but also working with some of our partners and emergency services as well, how all of this then will actually be operationalised. But the first part is to actually confirming that we agree or not agree with what are the expected roles and responsibilities of each of the councils.
For a locally led structure, right?
To make it to the new model of a locally led emergency management.
So just to confirm, what I'm hearing is we need to adopt this SLA to enable you to then move to the next step to actually start formulating the transition plan.
Correct.
Yes.
Yes, Sandra.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Thanks, team, and, good to have some progress on the table. I think it's critically important that our mana whenua partners are brought into this, and whether it's our team through HDC or your team, I'm just not sure how we're going to do that, but given all the impacts of our marae through Cyclone Gabrielle in there, just wondering what the pathway is for mana whenua.
So through you, Chair, my understanding is that the SLA has been taken to each of our councils and been through a council workshop for each of your councils.
It has, but it
certainly
hasn't gone
with
to our
Hawke's Bay Regional Council, we've had that go to a council meeting with our mana whenua representatives at the table.
Right.
Yes, we have chair of our Māori committee and chair of our RPC committee who are part of that workshop. So I guess the question is, has it been through a robust enough process
Well,
through each of our councils?
my question is, we're talking about roles and responsibilities here. Yes, our councillors had a workshop, thank you, but actually our mana whenua went there. So are you doing that engagement or is that us? Because if it's us, we pick it up and we take it through. But, we have to be consistent across all councils. We are a joint committee and we need to know how mana whenua has been engaged.
So through your chair, no, you go.
All I was going to say through the chair was that the service level agreement is an agreement between the councils, not amongst, for instance, the mana whenua and our emergency services and other partners. However, there is a separate item in the transformation strategy that specifically addresses the engagement with mana whenua and building them into the system as a whole. And so that's a parallel and separate piece of work that we do need to do, has started, and with some of the proposed things we've got in place, with additional resourcing, we really want to get into that in earnest. But that's why it doesn't feature heavily in the service level agreement, because it's specifically around the councils.
Okay, so then it's our responsibility and I'll take note that we need to do that work ourselves.
Mayor Craig.
So Shane, can you just, I'm a little bit confused, and it might be just me. The document you came up with the other day is a proposed consultation document change. So where does that all fit in?
So that's, through the chair, that's a separate process altogether. So what you're referring to is the consultation that we're having with staff around a realignment of staff roles and responsibilities.
Yeah.
That's of the Emergency Management Office. That is totally separate than the service level agreement between the councils as organisations. So there are parallel, or the relationship between them is that the consultation that we're having currently with staff and that councils have been have had a copy of will set up the Emergency Management Office in order to be able to deliver on the SLA. As far as the Emergency Management Office's role, what we need to do to reconfigure in order to achieve the direction that's already been set to us.
So does that come before the governors at all?
Through the chair, no, it's an internal HR process.
Okay, so none of the organisation charts or anything?
Through you, Chair, we have sent a draft of the change document, or sorry, not a draft, we have sent the change document to the TLAs and asked for feedback
Okay.
as part of that HR process.
Now that I understand that part of it, but the biggest thing after Cyclone Gabriel, it was the governors around the table that were criticised because we should have made our decisions, should have made more informed decisions. And when we started getting a bit grumpy with civil defence, they said, well, actually, it's your fault because you should have asked the questions. So I guess I'm asking the questions.
So that is currently sitting with each of the TLAs for feedback, as it is currently with the staff affected.
Yep.
Yes, Sandra.
No, I'm good,
No,
thank you.
that's fine. Any further questions? None. Okay, well, we have some recommendations in this paper. I have a mover for those. 1 and 2, receives and considers the service level agreement, staff report, and adopts the Hawke's Bay Civil Defence Emergency Management service level agreements as proposed. This is 2 recommendations. Happy to move, Mayor Alex.
Can I just ask, can we add something to that says that we actually get sent the document? So we actually know what we're really 100% adopting.
Sure, has that document been sent? And if not, we have that sent, thank you.
The one, but with all the track changes from day one, original, the one we're adopting.
I can't guarantee that I can send you a tracked version, but I can certainly send you some comments that we'd received about the drafts.
That's all, so we know actually that 100% what we're actually endorsing here.
Yes, that can be sent.
Yep.
Okay. So we have a mover and a seconder. Mayor Kirsten. Okay, no further comment. All those who agree say aye. 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 And against, carried. We move on to our group joint committee delegations. Katrina.
Thank you, Chair. We'll take the report as read, but just very high level. This is about putting in place some delegations for our group controller for under the Emergency Management Act to apply during what is commonly referred to as the interregnum period. Would you like to add some comment to that? This would be in the instance that there was a civil defence emergency management while there is an interregnum, and that the group controller could then take the actions that he needs to take.
Okay, thank you, Katrina. Mayor Alex, could you explain the difference between recommendation 2 and 3, please?
The or statements to the chair. So if you're talking about recommendation 2, then that one is about doing it for the duration of your appointment. So that would be you delegate authority to the group controller to exercise powers of 85 of the joint committee. Basically for as long as that person is appointed as the group controller. In other words, not just for this transitional period during the local government elections, but effectively permanently. Whereas option 3 says you're only prepared to do it for the duration of that election period. So in some regions, joint committees have already delegated that authority, because even outside of a election period, in order for the joint committee to exercise section 85, you would need to meet as a committee to do so. So they're your powers, not the group controller's powers.
Okay, a lot of questions out there. I'll go Mayor Sandra, then Mayor Craig.
Well, just a question from me. As an exiting mayor, my role finishes on the 16th of October after the final count. The new mayor will be confirmed on the 16th of October. So I'm just wondering why this is required.
Shane?
Through the chair. So because until such time as the new mayor is sworn in, then they are unable
So
to
it's that
exercise.
month.
Correct,
Okay.
that's after 10 days in between.
Right.
And actually not just one mayor, because this is the power of the committee. So all of the mayors of the
see.
committee would have to be sworn in
Okay.
to do this.
Okay. Mayor Craig, and then Tanya. Thank you.
Okay, so just one question. Why would you give it to the group controller rather than giving it to the CE?
The CE is, I mean, I'm trying to think here, legally you possibly could, but the CE is not actually running the response. The response is
I know,
done
no,
by
I
the group.
understand that, but when we make the call as the mayor, we're not running the response either.
Oh, correct. So if I can, through the chair, when a state of emergency is declared, the group controller automatically get a bunch of powers in the Act, as they are the operational lead for the response.
I understand all that, but I would think that could be a little bit clouded if that role becomes 2 roles. That's all.
So what I was suggesting was that actually becomes less clouded if you put it all within the group controller who already has the operational lead and the statutory obligations, versus you provide now some operational powers to the CE who does not actually lead the response.
Right, I would have thought it would have been better to have someone completely, as we have now, outside the group controller to make, are you talking about like clearing a declaration or something like that?
No, sorry, through the chair, clearing a declaration, I think Ian from NEM is going to talk about shortly in his update. This is purely about once the declaration has been made, then who has the power. So these are about emergency powers to operate during a response.
But the mayor has no powers once the declaration is made anyway.
Correct. Sorry, yes, but the joint committee does. Section 85 are the powers of the joint committee. So the mayors individually do not. The controller does not have those powers. Those powers sit with the joint committee. So the joint committee needs to convene to exercise Section 85. I cannot execute any of those powers. It is the powers of the joint committee, unless you either exercise them and delegate it to me on a case-by-case basis, or you delegate it in advance.
Alex? So could we say that this paper is about Section 85 powers, not really about the interregnum period?
Correct.
My apologies, I've got that wrong.
Yes, it's quite correct. It's required for any event, basically.
Yeah, for any event.
What it does is
Thank you.
what it does, it clearly
My
delineates
apologies.
the roles.
Any? That changes perspective.
Yeah, it does. Number 2 makes more sense now.
Yeah. Tanya, thank you.
Can I propose a minor alteration if we were to move recommendation number 3? that instead of limiting it to only the 2025 local election, it was this period of all elections. So, reads, after the public notification of each official local election results.
There may be another little one, even of a by-election.
Yeah,
Very true.
including, yeah. So, my point is, this is not just going to be for this year, this is going to replicate itself
Or each election.
biennium.
Yeah.
And it would only not be engaged if a mayor was re-elected unopposed, because their sworn-in statement would carry on through till the next swearing-in.
I understand what you mean for any elections, yeah.
Yep.
But I just want to seek the view, some think that maybe 2 is the better option.
Well, what I'm hearing is that this isn't just for during that.
Correct.
No, this
Yeah.
is for the whole term, so that you don't have to get the joint committee together to actually bring under section 85, so
Yeah.
it changes it quite.
It does.
Yeah.
Through the chair, I think that's the purpose of point 2 or point 3. So you
Yeah.
have 2 options, either in perpetuity, whilst to the group controller. If
Yeah.
you're comfortable with that, if you're uncomfortable with that, then my recommendation would at least do number 3. If you would.
Katrina?
Through you, Chair, it would seem to me that perhaps this is a historic issue with Section 85 not being delegated
Correct.
with
Yeah.
all of the other functions that have been
Yeah.
delegated to a group controller. It would seem to me sensible that Section 85 should be delegated permanently to the group controller with all the other functions that are delegated through the joint committee.
Yeah.
So I don't know that there should have been an or and a 3. And we haven't articulated that clearly in the report. Please accept my apologies and my confusion that I talked about the interregnum. That's on me.
Okay, way forward is, it sounds sensible that 1 and 2 are definitely what we need to correct.
Yep.
And it's really about whether or not we want to add that 3rd. No,
And
okay,
it's an or, so I think you
and
can
it's an
leave
or,
it.
yeah.
Aside from section 85,
Yes.
are there any other gaps in the interregnum period that need a delegation that is not considered by section 85?
Through the chair, not that I'm aware of. I think that's the only one. I think any other functions outside of emergency powers, other functions they have may have already been delegated, but they're not emergencies. So
Through you, Chair, I think we can take a review of that so that if we find anything in the new term, we can bring that to the joint committee and they can change the delegation.
Okay. I think we've gained enough clarity to move 1 and 2, and I'm just really mindful who's speaking right now from HDC, whether it's me, Sandra, or it's one or the other.
Okay, it's me.
Okay, Tanya, kia ora.
A question regarding the recommendations in the minutes. I agree with Katrina that the lead up to these recommendations isn't as clear as it could be. So if we do have recommendation 2, can there be some commentary in the minutes that just
Reflects how we
expand a little bit more around how we got to number 2?
Yep,
Thank you.
absolutely.
And if I may, I'm happy to move the recommendations.
Thank you.
1 and 2.
1 and 2, thank you for the notes. And seconder, Mayor Alex. All those who agree say aye. Aye. Those against, carried. Thank you. We move on to our local controller removal. Who would like to lead out on this?
I can, through the chair. Self-explanatory, it's an administrative process, noting though a spelling error for our rules, first name which we'll correct, but otherwise it's a pretty straightforward item as per we've done for previous local controllers standing down.
Okay, any questions for the team? Aidan, kia ora.
How do you go about filling that role? My concern is that we've got a couple of our whanaunga up in Wairua that are in those positions, but we don't have any of our whanaunga down here in Ahuriri or Heretanga that are in in that role. So I'm keen to get someone in there.
We just talk through the process of how to become controller.
Yeah, so first thing, through the chair, just noting that section 9 lists all the local controllers that do exist, obviously, which include a couple from Wairoa, and I know Wairoa has got some more that they might wish to put through the process. And noting that Hastings still has 3 other remaining ones after this. The process that the Joint Committee had previously agreed to is getting people into controller roles. You may recall you asked for a more robust process, and I gave a paper which basically said at a high level that once we get an expression of interest, there's a bunch of administrative stuff around reference checks and legal checks and interviews, a bunch of courses they'll need to do. That will then come back to the Joint Committee to endorse them, but not approve them as a controller, because once you approve, they have powers. On that endorsement, we would then put that person through what's known as the response and leadership training, which comes about every 2 or 3 times a year. We pay for that, and that's a 7-day pre-course, 7 weeks of pre-course work, and then 5-day residential course. And then on the outcome of all of that, we come back to the Joint Committee with all of that paperwork and all that process, including we've done some psychometric testing for you to finally approve that person as a controller. The only difference between a local controller and a group controller appointment is that you asked for a group controller to go via KEG first, whereas a local controller would come straight to the Joint Committee. But I'm happy to sit down, post this, and go through it.
Yeah. I think the main takeaway here is there some promotional work we can do to talk about the role, what the process is to try and get more of our Māori whānau, mana whenua, especially those at Marae who look after their own resilience hub, into a program where they can become a controller. Yeah.
Yeah, we had 3 iwi controllers during Cyclone Gabrielle, operating out of the regional hub. It would be more than capable of doing this type of May.
Yep, happy to connect afterwards.
Thank you. Kia ora. Any further questions? It's pretty straightforward, this point. Happy to move. Can I have a second, Mayor Craig? All those agree, say aye.
Aye.
Those against, carried. Sorry, Leon, I just saw your hand up. Yeah, jump in.
Yeah. To you, Madam Chair. Just to confirm, is that through the Civil Defence Management we put those names through, or our local council? Which process will be followed? I don't see the claims for Wairoa or through the local council. Is that a direct process through there, or is that some other process entity?
Through the chair, Leon, I would suggest that you go through the local council. It will end up being a discussion with us anyway, but that's probably the locally led model to actually do it at a local level and bring it through the system.
Thank you, Shane. Yes.
Thank you. Now, team, we have an update from Nina. Ian, hand it over to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll take the report as read. As you can see, the Emergency Management System Improvement Program is progressing at speed. We're now up to phase 3. The government have signed off on the 15 projects. However, that's, I guess, an agreement or subject to funding, project manager being put up, and also staff being found to actually deliver those. At the moment, we're looking at delivering 3 in the next year on the Regional Support Team, Public Readiness and Resilience Fund. The Minister's very keen to increase our Resilience Fund and make it available to everyone in New Zealand. So those 3 projects will go to government for funding, and then we will advance those. The Minister's also very keen to have the bill introduced before the end of the year. He's aiming for October, November, with getting it signed off and in place by sort of halfway through next year. The bill has also, I guess, a lot of work in it. He's also looking at the powers that sit under declaration. He's looking at the powers that sit under transition, and these should be, I guess, mirroring each other. So there's some talk going on with those. So we're waiting to see how that comes out in the bill as well. The other aspect I think you might be interested in is the Ministry for the Environment now has in an event a fund that's available for silt removal for councils or waste removal from an event. The templates are sitting on the MFE site. You can apply on the day of those events. Other than that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Yeah, thanks, Ian. Mayor Alex.
Water entities effective 1 July 2026.
Water entities?
Yeah, so page 19 of the agenda.
Sorry, yes.
And of your report talks about water entities and their connections to the system. But is that relevant to the existing the new legislation, or is that the old legislation?
That's the old legislation, but it's also relevant to the new legislation. The Minister, as you're aware, got rid of 3 waters and now has 10 entities. And you have until 2026, I think June, to actually have an entity established for that area to obviously deliver the water, 3 waters, and they can actually apply directly to us when there's an event in respect to reimbursement. So they become an entity in their own right, and it removes it out of the council.
Yep, Mayor Alex.
I think maybe we should clarify that it's not, 10 entities was the last government's model. So if we were to, so our new entities going forward that we choose under Local Water Done Well, whether that's in-house, single CCO or regional CCO, they will have legally connected into the emergency lifelines legislation now, because what you've referred to is actually, it's not a 10 entity thing anymore, that was 2 years ago.
Yep. They will be incorporated into the new legislation.
Okay.
So Auckland Water, I think it's Auckland Water, is the only one at the moment that's actually legally can come straight to us.
Yeah.
It's been legally across. So each of your entities will have to be approved by us. So by us, by NEMA, sorry. And they'll have that ability to deal for you.
For funding support.
For reimbursement, yeah, for in respect of events, and
Right.
that I guess it removes the ability or removes the contentiousness of repairs.
So that's not,
Yeah.
Madam Chair, that's not additional refunding ability from what it is currently through councils. It's just the transfer of the same 60-40 recovery style funding
Correct.
that will be delegated to the new water entities.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further questions for Ian? Ian, what is that resilience fund looking like at the moment?
So at the moment we have $1 million.
$1 million nationally.
Yes. Which we've had since 1988, John? Somewhere around there?
Right.
Maybe before that, and it hasn't increased. Now, the Minister's very keen to increase that to make it actually a viable fund that all groups can actually get their teeth into some bigger projects. So he's looking at this quite seriously about how that's delivered, and he's also opening up to all other organisations to be able to actually deliver or apply to that fund as well.
Like if Wairoa needs a local emergency centre, that resilience fund would help.
It probably would, but I have no idea what the criteria will be. That'll be up to the Minister to set, and obviously there'll be a process to go through.
Yeah, but it's got to be more than $1 million.
Oh, definitely. At the moment, it's only about 800,000 because funding is taken out to actually run the resilience fund as well.
Wow.
So
okay.
there's not a lot of money there.
Right.
The other bit I forgot to explain is, I guess, elections are coming up, and as Mayor Alex raised before, on the date of the elections, when the elections are notified within the public arena, all councillors and mayors lose their power to declare. So no one actually has it. In that period, between the election results being notified in public and the first council meeting where they're sworn back in, the Minister is available to swear. Do the declaration for you, and he's on tap for us 24/7. Now, if there's an event coming up that you can foresee, the CEO can call an immediate council meeting and swear the mayor back in if he so wishes or she so wishes.
Okay. Is it the Minister for the Environment, did you say?
No, our Minister, the Minister for
Minister,
Emergency
yeah,
Management and
Minister
Recovery.
Mitchell,
So Minister
sorry.
Mitchell,
Yeah.
and if he's out, we have a replacement minister that's on standby.
Okay.
So there's always someone available to declare in those days.
All right. Any further questions? If there aren't, thank you, Ian. I'm happy to move the feedback, the updated report, and a second in your person. All those agree, say aye.
Aye.
Those against, carried. We move into the group controller update. Shane.
Thank you, Chair. So hopefully this is relatively straightforward. A couple of things to point out is that there's a lot more connection happening with all the controllers. I refer to the statutory controllers and those controllers that you have appointed through the Joint Committee, and a more regular connection with them. They've also, KEG agreed at the last meeting to have one controller for each council sort of observe that and also get the agendas and minutes, etc., just to make them more connected, noting that they have a statutory role to play. So that's actually a really positive step forwards. As far as the controller process, working through as fast as we can to get new controllers for the group as you'll see there, we've got 2 people currently going through the training, and I think it's by November they should have completed everything, and I will be able to bring those names to you at the November meeting. And then a 3rd group controller is going through the process at a slightly separate course, and therefore I'll be able to bring that to you early January. That's just purely based on when those national courses run that those people need to attend. So whilst we haven't necessarily got all the processes in place due to capacity reasons, as I would like to have done, a pragmatic approach, I'll put them through the training to ensure that as we work through the rest of those processes, that we'll have someone to bring to you in the end of November for your hopeful approval, and it'll go through KEG first, being at our group controllers. Otherwise, I'll take it as read and happy to take questions.
Thanks, Shane. Just a question. What sort of resources required to train a controller, to become a local controller?
The process is, the courses they need to attend is the big thing, as well as obviously some applications and some interviews and stuff. And as I said, the psychometric testing, but the training basically works out to be, off the top of my head, there's probably roughly 3 days of training they do before they can go on the national course. They'll probably need to do some orientation with us, and then they do the 7 weeks of pre-course work and then the 5-day residential course. And then there's 12 months of post-course development that they will do.
Is that course free for those who are committed, or there is a cost?
So there is a cost. Currently, the group office pays for it. Roughly, we budget, Tommy, do accommodation and travel about 10,000 a controller, which is why we, you may recall that the Joint Committee endorses them before we put them on that course, and then appoint them separately. So we're not investing if you are at early upfront not confident that that's the person you want.
Okay. No questions? Yeah, Baden.
Yeah, kia ora. There's been some engagement with our Māori communities in 8 iwi and marae across the Rohe. How's that going? Because we were up in Te Karaka. We had national iwi chairs up at Tūranganui-a-Kiwa up in Gisborne, and we were taken through a bit of a tour of Te Karaka, which was one of the marae, one of 5 marae, I think, up there that were hit. And all their houses are, however many metres off the ground, but they've got their own emergency hub up on the highest part of Te Karaka. It's a pretty impressive little setup, but they're pretty much self-sustainable as a community, and that's what we need in terms of some of our Māori communities. That type of thinking, and some pūtea to go with it. Yeah. We're working with Kitty Allen. She's the lead for a working group within National Iwi Chairs. So she's supporting some of our marae, but I'm keen to see some mahi going into those communities. We've got them all up here in Ngāti Kaungana, but we saw what can be done with a bit of mahitahi and a bit of resource. Not a lot of resource, but.
Sounds like a good partnership opportunity, I think.
Yep. I think so.
Are there any further questions? If there aren't, I'm happy to move. Me, Alex, you happy to second? All those agree, say aye. Aye. Those against, carried. Now we've got the CDM Group Office update. And thank you, you've provided some high-level financials in this one. Sure, me, Alex, be happy to see you start at the start of that. Thank you. Hand it over to you, Shane.
Thank you, Chair. So probably just a few points, 'cause hopefully, again, it's relatively self-explanatory, but there's been really good progress over the last year. Some of those areas have been working with the community hubs and the resilience plans, so working alongside each of the councils and their staff. Really good improvement on capability, with a lot of training going on. That relates to also some funding that we put in last year to develop training, at this point mostly focused on council staff, to bring them up, but it's also been out to a bunch of partners, doing some work with the Māori Wardens at the moment as well, and around some of the marae stuff. and also the registration needs assessment platform, which we sort of leveraged off the work that Taranaki did and have continued to develop it, and working now with our partner agencies in the welfare space. So there's been really good initiatives in that space, on top of a lot of other work that's been going on. The financials, and if there are any questions, James Park is here, who is a financial person for Regional Council. Can't remember his exact title. Management accountant, that's the one. But to give you an indication, we said on point 10 that we estimated 360,000 underspend would be allocated towards repaying the reserve. The provisional amount at the moment is 321 now that all of the money has sort of ended the financial year, but that's still provisional. So that 321 would then be returned effectively back into the reserves. As far as, I guess, the wider thinking of the year ahead, as we go into a new financial year, there's a couple of things I really... Ian's already talked about the change with legislation, so there's a lot of uncertainty in that space. With the realignment of the group office or the emergency management office, the implementation of the service level agreement, we need to start working on the group plan. There'll be some stuff around ICT changes, also business case for the common operating platform to be rolled out hopefully the beginning of next financial year across all councils. Some relocation of the ECC and the office, as well as the ongoing coroner's input in the background. There's a lot of stuff going on over and above what would be normally in a work program. And to be honest, it's a significant amount of effort that's required to continue to progress that. So I just wanted to kind of give you that, I guess, that backdrop to think about as we move forwards into the 25-26 work program, which will be heavily influenced by the transformation strategy and about implementing that. That doesn't mean that the other aspects of the 4Rs aren't important, but these are the things that we need to progress. And as you'll note in sort of section 20, there are a number of those efforts that will require some resourcing, which is part of current consultation process, which I will leave to that process to play out. And then lastly, exercise activate. So we continued to drive forwards with some exercising, a slight change from earlier. We've stretched out exercise a little bit longer period to give more chance to learn the lessons between each exercise. And the next year we'll see a lot more effort being put into exercising, certainly across multiple agencies. At the moment, we're just focusing on getting the basics right, building confidence and competence, and embedding all the significant amount of training that's recently gone underway. But in 26 we'll be seeing a lot more of training carrying on, and then a lot more into that exercising and embedding that learning. That's probably just the high level stuff I wanted to touch on. I'm happy to take questions.
Thanks, Shane. Just the congratulations around the capacity building and the number of people you're bringing through training. It's fantastic to see, really getting a workforce going, so well done. Questions? Mayor Alex.
Thank you for providing the financials. Maybe you might need your management accountant, I'm not sure, to describe, but can you please run through the report at point 7 on page 26 about what is considered external costs versus internal time versus overhead allocation, to give us a sense of actually what the money's being spent on?
Sure.
Thanks.
Just welcome James Park, our management accountant for CEDM.
Kia ora koutou.
James.
Through you, Chair. So external costs, as we sort of classify them, as any vendor that we're paying externally. This could be consultants, could be buying signage, the tsunami signs, etc., buying ropes for safety equipment, all that sort of thing. Internal time is our staff costs. That is our all-in staff costs. So that is salaries along with KiwiSaver, ACC, cell phones that we pay for staff, etc. And then the final piece of overheads. So this is an overhead assigned from HBRC to the CEDM Group Office to account for the services that HBRC provides. This would be things like payroll, HR, health, safety and wellness, desktop, so ICT, laptops, cell phones, that type of thing. I would just note that CEDM receives a reduced rate due to the fact that they sit outside the group and have a reduced cost of support, and so we attune that accordingly.
Okay, and just on that, the additional forecast on overhead. 193,000
So
additional
that,
forecast?
yeah, so that comes from, when we sort of first assign the overheads, that's based on a budgeted amount that we set at the end of the year. Then when we come to do our wrap-up at the end of the year, if there is overheads left to be allocated or recovered back, that is the additional amount. So we obviously don't know that at the start of the year. The forecast is a best efforts budget, and then that is reflective of the top-up. And within the CEDMA space, as an example, we may have had additional ICT costs. I know that we obviously have issues with sorting out some software pieces, etc. So that accounts for that additional piece.
And is that amount, 193,800, is that a normal amount that you would see in a wash-up on this activity, or is that extraordinary for this year? What makes it extraordinary in this budget? Or this?
Not extraordinary at all.
Okay.
That was purely just based on a timing piece of, we're looking to finalise the accounts, and I wanted to give Shane as much information to give to the committee as possible, just based on our best forecast. Know that it's not extraordinary given the FTE that the CEDM group has. So that's one of our largest sort of single groups, which really drives that overheads, because it is derived from both spend and the number of FTE. So I wouldn't describe that as large at all.
Sorry, last one. Same topic. So why is the budget that's reported on page 31 less for overhead? So you're forecasting for this year overhead to be 700,000 plus, but then the budget for next year is 490. And I'm asking this because if there's that much variation between how we're spending overhead, how are we actually managing to consistently budget for how we're actually paying our people on the ground that are actually doing our emergency management functions?
So specific to the change from the 24-25 to the 25-26 year, this is unfortunately a specific scenario for CEDM. We had previously had, I would say, honestly, some non-overhead costs sitting within that bucket, as was the want of the previous group controller. We have since moved those out into the activity areas, so the 4 different work streams that CEDM maintains, and so they are now essentially paying for that cost. A couple of things to highlight was the rent on HDC that was previously, the building that HDC is currently providing to us, that was actually previously classified as an overhead to disperse it to the group as a whole. Through discussions with Shane, we've shifted that cost into the activity work stream of the group leadership, and so that's taking that directly, which has reduced that overhead going into the current financial year.
Thank you. Mayor Craig?
I promise I won't have 4 supplementaries.
Just one big one. Go on then.
Hey, just on the, what's the number of Mariah costs the old Rohi of Hawke's Bay?
We've got 100 marae all up. Most of those would be in the Hawke's Bay area, so I'd say about 60% of those.
Yeah, so we've got a long way to go there, and I'm just thinking, are we using our local, like, are we trying to duplicate stuff that can be done locally? And you know, we've got that knowledge in Wirral, no doubt, you know, CHB, Napier, Hastings, and rather than going out and doing it all again, we do it every day of our lives, and then we have the new technology of Starlink, and the council's using a lot of stuff in the council for their telemetrics with the Starlink thing all over the show now. You know, we should be now getting up to speed a little bit better and trying to now link into these, and you know, they might even have a network between them that we could use in an emergency where we never want to go where we were in Wirral, where we had nothing for about 3 or 4 days until one of the staff members happened to buy a Starlink the week before and thought, gosh, we'll pull it out of the box and see how it works. So I just think we can be doing a lot better rather than doing what we're doing at the moment and saving a lot more money.
Yeah, and I agree. I think you run around the tables looking for efficiencies and still being effective in our role, and not duplicating. But I'll hand over to the team to tell us how.
Too.
Yeah. Well, they'll tell us how, and you might have something else.
Yeah.
Through you, Chair, I you're absolutely correct. It's about locally led. That is the point of the transformation strategy falling out of the independent review, and absolutely not in the intent of the group office to replicate or duplicate. Certainly the relationships you have at place are strong, and you should continue absolutely to grow those and deliver at the local level. That is the intent of the transformation. That is the intent of the restructure that we are undertaking at the Hawke's Bay Emergency Management Office.
Oh, and promise only one. So one of our main maraes that was used for the what do you call it, with people staying, evacuation centre.
Yep.
They're really struggling with the infrastructure, and it's myself as the mayor trying to run around and get funding everywhere for them so they can put a new septic tank in, so then they can use more than 2 toilets at once and things like that. Where I think that's the sort of thing we should be looking at too, how we can actually build our resilience because we know it's going to happen again. And if it happens tomorrow, they're going to have probably 70 to 100 people in this one marae, and that we'll be struggling to.
Through your chair, absolutely agree. Similar scenario in Napier. I know there's a locally led initiative, particularly up on the hill with Napier Central School. Community leaders have stepped up in that regard and are looking at how they can fund, support a local emergency centre there.
But what I'm saying, that's great, but I think CDM need to be looking at other stuff, just on two-way radios and things like that. Maybe how we can fund these places to be the best place to evacuate to.
We, through you, Chair, we've been trying to support our marae, around Hawke's Bay, with emergency containers and things of that nature. I know Motul was just open on the weekend.
Yeah.
That's 2.5 years of mahi, getting that marae back into operational state. So it's a bit of a struggle out there for a number of our marae. But this government's pulled back on a whole lot of funding up, avenues for that type of thing. So it's pretty tough.
Through you, Chair, ultimately the Hawke's Bay Emergency Management Office isn't funded for that. That's not their role. But ultimately it's about maybe NEMA and their Resilience Fund. We've heard that that's under a bit of strain at the moment, but that would be one place to start for that community.
I'll connect you up with Kitty Allen.
Yeah,
that project.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's found some money.
Kapai, are there any further questions? Oh, Mia, Kirsten,
Thank you, through the chair. Just with regards to the CDM Group plan, and acknowledging obviously the demands on capacity and your proposed structural realignment, just noting that it did only run to 2019, and good to see that it's going to begin this financial year. Do we have an anticipated completion date or timeframe?
Through the chair, 2 things I'd point out. One, the plan has been maintained, so it's still valid, even though it has time till we update it with all the changes like the controller appointments. As far as timelines, realistically, from NEMA and other regions that have done it, we should expect it to take 18 months. It is a publicly consultable plan. A lot of work needs to be done. We have some small amount of money to help with consultants to help with some work, as well as some staff realignments. Hopefully we can do it quicker and leverage off other work, but let's aim for 12 to 18 months.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I really do hope, because I remember when I was in my first term as councillor, we talked about a Māori partnership role in CDM back then, and so it is still here, so we would love that to be filled. Yeah, kia ora. Are there any further questions on this item?
Just, that the reserve, the 3.2, 3.3, what's the level that you try and maintain for, because you got your overheads and you got staff and that, but there's a amount of money that we're always going to have in that kitty for the next big whatever. Yeah.
Through you,
Pass
Chair.
through to James, yeah.
Through you, Chair. That unfortunately is a negative number at the moment.
Is it?
So it's,
Really?
Oh, yeah, it's still in recovery, Baden.
I don't want to say through a series of unfortunate events, but through a series of events that began with floods back in 1819, that reserve has been drained continually. And so we have a 10-year repayment plan that starts in 25-26 this financial year to repay that over 10 years. We are yet
60. Is it 3 years?
yes, which we have rated for as part of the CEDM rate over the next 10 years. Obviously, when we have early repayments to the reserve, such as we had for 24-25, that helps a lot and also gives us flexibility given the change program that we're going to be going through for this year. We will be reviewing that 10-year repayment plan as part of the next LTP that we will obviously consult on. HBRC is also conducting a reserves project to look at what we think are the viable reserve amounts for all of our reserves, that to be included. So we would hope to have a nominated amount at that time as well.
Yeah. Someone's got to carry that. So but we have many reserves, regional council has many reserves. Yeah, that function the same way. But building it into LTP is really important. Yeah. Is there no further questions?
Through
Thank
you. Just on the resilience fund, I don't want to get your hopes up too high. It's not a big fund, and at the moment it doesn't buy capital assets. So just be aware that you fight everyone in New Zealand for it as well. So the minister's keen to get more, but it's still got to be approved.
Yeah, thank you. Happy to move. Any Kirsten? Yeah. Alex, all those who agree, say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you. I think that's the end of our public included, thank you, James, agenda. So I'll move that we go into public excluded just to confirm our excluded minutes from last meeting. And Councillor Tanya's happy to second. All those who agree, say aye.
Aye.
Those against? Carried.